Swift is a powerful programming language for iOS, iPadOS, macOS, tvOS, and finally watchOS. Writing Swift code is interactive and fun. The syntax is easy to understand, and Swift includes modern features developers love. Swift code is safe by design and produces software that runs lightning fast. Now, every programming language needs a compiler so it can run, and on our case we will use the Xcode as compiler for our Swift code. Xcode includes everything you need to develop, test, and distribute app across all Apple platforms. Leverages the simplicity and powerful of Swift and Swift UI with a new multi-platform app experience. Code faster with enhanced editor features and testing deploying from Xcode Cloud to TestFlight and App Store. Swift Playgrounds is an app for iPad and Mac that helps you to learn to code and build apps using Swift, the same powerful language used to create world-class apps for the App Store. Engaging lessons and walkthrough demonstrate the core concept of coding and building apps as you write real Swift code in an interactive environment. Now that we understand what we need to start developing apps, we have to start learning the basic of Swift programming language. In the next chapter, we will speak about the basic of Swift programming language. Thank you. In the previous chapter, we learned about what is the Xcode and what is the playground. Today we will use the playground for learning the basics of Swift programming language. So let's start by opening the Xcode, then go from here, File, and then New, and then Playground. We choose blank for writing whatever we want using the Swift language. You can name your own file here. For example, playground 1. Create. Now, as you can see here, we have to write whatever we want using the Swift language. If you find here, there will be a play button to see what is the result of the code that you write here. So if you click play, we should expect the value or the result to come here, which will sometimes takes little time because it's our first time to create that playground. As you can see here, you will find the circle that is trying to build the Swift code. So it can take at least 1 minute or 2 minutes or maybe less than that. So in the next video, we will speak about the Swift types. Thank you. What is the Swift types? Swift provides its version of all fundamental C and Objective-C types, including int for integers, double and float for floating points values, bool for boolean values, and string for textual data. Swift also provides a powerful version of the 3 primary collection types, which is the array, set, and dictionary. Let's have an example of creating a string type var full name equal Ahmed. Now let's run the application. As you can see here, we have a string called Ahmed. This variable is a string type. Now, for the integer, we will use as example var number, or let's just say identity, as integer, which is int in Swift, is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now let's run. We have now integer type. This is a number. The third type is the floating and double. Let's just have var with salary We can define it by using float or using double. It's up to you. Let's just say my salary is 100. Okay, this is too much. Let's just say 100.50. This is for double. Let's just build and run. Yeah, it's 100.5. And finally, the boolean, which is var, is active employee. Employee. This will be a bool type, which is boolean, true or false. So in our case, it should be like, for example, true. Let's print it out. It's a true. In the next video, we will speak about the constant and variables. Thank you. Constants and variables must be declared before they are used. You declare the constant with let keyword and variable with var keyword. Here is an example of how constant and variable can be used to track the number of login attempts a user has made. So let's have a comment here, constants and variables. So for the constant, we use let maximum number of login attempts equal to 10. We have a constant variable here is called maximum number of login attempts, which is equal to 10, which is integer. And we have a variable called current login attempt, which is equal to 0. So if we try to give the variable maximum number of login attempts a value, for example, let's just say maximum, I wanted it to be equal to 20, and try to run the application, we will have an error here say that you cannot assign a value to a constant. That means this variable cannot be changed. It's only constant for one time, and it's good for performance, by the way. Now, we have the other type of variables, which is the current login attempt here. If we try to do current login attempt is equal to 10, or maybe let's just say 5, then we go to run the application, we will find that it was initialized by 0 and now it is 5. So this is the difference between the constant and the variable. Now, as we know, we can provide a type of this variable. For example, we have the constant here is a 10, which is a value type as integer. But imagine that you want to make a type or force a type for this variable. You do that, you do it like that. For example, I want it to be this as integer. So no way that you can ever have a string here or boolean or any other types. For example, here we can just put it, I want it to be string. If we try to do that, as you can see, you will have error say that it's not impossible to convert a value integer to a specific as string. Why? Because we force the type here. Now, constant and variables names cannot contain white space character. So you can just say let test space test2 is equal to blah blah blah. Here we will have an error here. Also, you can't use a mathematical operator or symbols like you can let equal question mark equal to something, or even line and box drawing characters. It cannot be begin with a number, like you can even start it with a number like that. Although numbers may be including elsewhere within the name, so you can name it like that, test underscore 1. This works fine without any problems. You can also do a var test2 is equal to 1. This have no problems. Now, this is all that you need to know about the constants and variable. In the next video, we'll speak about collection type, starting with arrays. Thank you. An array stores values of the same type in an ordered list. The same value can appear in an array multiple times at different positions. Note that the arrays are ordered by when they are put in the array. So let's have an example of creating an array. For example, define a list of ages. Let's go with var ages equal to, this is the brackets for the array. We're starting with age 18, 20, 22, 25, 26, 35. Now we have a list here, and when we put the data, we start with 18, which will be the index number 0. And then we add 20, which is the index number 1, and so on. So, for example, you can also define the same array, but with a type for that. For example, let's just say we have a names, and we want the list to be array of string. Yeah, you can do that, by the way. Let's just have a name as Ahmad, and he have a number here. If we try to play, we will have an error here. Tell us that you cannot convert a value integer. It's expected element of type string, because we forced that to be a string array. You also can do, let's just have comment that. You can also do or use some already defined functions which is provided by Swift, like ages.count, which will return you the number of elements in the array, which in our case it will be 6. You also can use ages.first. It will provide, or it will give you the first element of the array, which is 18. You also can use the ages dot last. It will also provide you the last element of the array, which is the 35. And imagine if you want to access the 22, how you are going to do that? Simply, you can just type the variable, which is ages. Now open brackets and try to tier the index of that number. In our case, the array is starting from 0, not from 1, so be careful. It is 0, 1, 2. So the index number 2 is the element of 22. Let's try here the index number 2, and let's have the print. As you can see, it's 22. Now imagine you want to append that array, like you want to add more element for that array. You can use the ages.append. I want to add for example 45. Let's just have to print. You will find that the 45 has been added after the 35. Now you can also add inside the array in any position you want using this method, ages.insert. I want to insert the element, let's just say 10 at index 0. That means that this element will be added at the first. Let's have a run. As you can see, the 10 in the first, which is the index 0. Then it will keep continue like 18, 20, 22, and so on. Like there is finally some playground. Like if you want to shuffle the array, you can use ages.shuffle. Now you will find that the element of that array is every time you try to run the application. For example, let's just have print here. Every time, you will find that the number here are changeable. Give it a try. One moment. Yes. Now, there is also the final one, which is the reverse. If you have this array and you want the 20 to be in the first and you want the 35 to be in the last, you can do something like that. Ages.reverse. It should provide you, it's building, yeah. As you can see here, it has been shuffled and it changes again. And as you can see, the first element, which 45 is now in the first and 20 is in the last. 35 here, it was the second element, it's now before the last, and so on. Now that you understand how the arrays works, in the next video we'll speak about the set and to see what exactly the difference between them. Thank you. What is the sets? Sets are used to store distinct value of the same types, but they don't have defined ordering as array have. For example, let's have a set of ages, which we already defined it here, and let's add some already duplicated number, which is 20, and let's just say 18 and 25. Has been duplicated 2 times. The set have to remove them because it doesn't accept the duplication, and when you get the result from the set, you will find them in unordered list. So the more difference between them, that set is removing the elements and make it the array more unique, and which is the array not for sure, while also it will give you the list but with unordered list. So let's give it as an example. Let's just say here we want let ages sets equal, you define it by set, then you will pass the array. For example, in our case it's ages. Now let's have a run. We will find here that the sets has removed the duplication number, which is 18, 25 and 20. You will find it only 1 times here. So in case you have an array which is contain a lot of duplication, you need to use set to remove that duplicate. Also, each time you're trying to run the application, you are not guaranteed that the ages will be the same values in the order here. Sometimes you will find the 20 is starting from here, sometimes you will find that the 10 in the last, and so on. So you can also use the same functionality for the sets like insert, append, shuffle, reverse, and count, and so on. The same as array, the same as in the set. This is for the sets, and in the next video we'll speak about the dictionary, which is more important of the collection type. Thank you. The Swift dictionary is an unordered collection of items. It stores elements in key value pairs. Here, keys are unique identifiers that are associated with each value. For example, let's define a dictionary, and let's just have let's just say the mobile types. Var mobile models is equal, or let's just say the type, it should be string, which will be the key, and the value, which will be string. In our case, that means that we will have equal mark, and starting with, we will have the phone, or let's just say the type, sorry, iPhone X. This is a great iPhone ever, which is not, by the way. Let's just have Android. This is more cool for open source. Now, as you can see here, we have a dictionary. The key here is called iPhone. The value is this is a great iPhone ever, and the same. Here the key is Android, and the value is this is more cool for open source. Now we will get, or maybe let's just say that we want to print this value. Imagine you have multiple keys, like we have here also, like let's just say a Sony, for example. I don't know if this companies exist or not, but just give it a try. Sony. And by the way, for the dictionary, it's recommended to use as a lowercase for names. This company does not exist. This company does not exist. Now, if we want to try to print the value, this company is not exist. How we are going to use that, or to do that with dictionary? Simply, you just get the name of the dictionary, which is mobile models. Then you open the brackets. In the set and array, every time we define an index, which like 0 or 1 or 2. But here we can define a name. It will be the best performance that we need to get the value without doing any kind of loops to get the value. So if I want a Sony, simply I just put here Sony, and I will get the value. This company is not exist. Let's give it a run. And as you can see here, we got the value. This is company is not exist. Same for that. You can use Android and then run. And yeah, here we go. This is all what you need to understand about how dictionary works. And for now, as we cover all the collection type, I hope you understand them and what is the difference between them and when to use the sets and when to use the dictionary and when to use the array for sure. But this is all for the chapter number 2. In the chapter 3, we'll speak about the functions, if else, enums, and loops. Thank you. Chapter, we speak about the Swift types and collection types and variables. In this chapter, we will speak about functions, loops, enums, and more. Let's start with functions. What is the function? A function is a set of statements organized together to perform a specific task. Writing a function is something easy in Swift. For example, let's write a function to get a summation of two numbers, starting with defining the keyword of the function in Swift, which is func, and then following up with the function name, add, and then we provide the variable that we will pass, which is the parameter. In our case would be number 1 with type integer and number 2 with type integer. Inside this function, we will open the curved brackets and then we will print the summation of number 1 plus number 2. Now, to call the function, you need just to call the name that you already name it with add and then provide the number. For example, let's just some summation of 5 and 5, for example. It should be now printing 10. As you can see here, it's print 10. And same if you can change whatever number you want, for example 10, it will be 15. Now, imagine that you want to do a function which returns something and you want to use it later. For example, here we want to create a function that return my name if I pass to it true. My name status with boolean value, and it should be return my name, which will be string, and return this is my name. Okay. Now, if I call the function my name with the status, for example, we can just write here if status is equal to true, then you need to return my name, else it's not my name. Now let's pass the status, which is true, and build the project. We will see that it return name Ahmed. Now the difference between this and this, the code that is between the curved brackets executed one time without any getting of using that code. So in our case, for this function, for example, if I want to make a variable called var name is equal to function name, it will have the variable Ahmed it will have the value Ahmed in the variable called name. So if you try to print the name, it should print also Ahmed. Now imagine if I send the status to be false. Let's see, it should print it's not my name. So imagine how the functions are too cool, how you imagine to write some of syntax, some of else if and stuff like that. And by the way, we will heading to the next video, which including the if and else, so we can explain them and how does they work. The thing that you need to understand is that the function that you can do or create is having two types. The first one, which return a value, and the second one, which is not return any values. It's just executing the code that between the brackets. That's it for the video. In the next video, we'll speak about the if and else. Thank you. Video, we speak about the functions, and now we will continue in chapter 3 for the if and else. From the name, if the condition is met, then execute something, else execute something else. Let's just make it easier with a real example. Let's have a variable called is user active with a type boolean, which is true or false, and let's have true. Then we said if our condition, like it should be true or false, is user active, print user is active, else print user is not active. So if we have it here, that means if condition met, which is should be returned true here. In our case, yeah, we already hard coded that to true, so it will execute or print the user is active here. Now if we change it to false, that means the condition doesn't met, it should print the user is not active. If you have multiple conditions, for example, let's just say user status with a type of string equal to active, and here you want to add more extra condition, you need to use the else if, which means if this condition doesn't met, let's go with the other one. So I will check else if the user status is equal to active, execute something, else you need to say that the user is not active. So in our case, the user status is active. That means that this condition will be met. Let's try to build and run. And here we go. The user is active. Okay, finally, there is something you need to understand, like maybe when you start writing some Swift code, there is an if and else with one line, so you don't have to write this thing if condition try to do something else to something else. You can just write it like that. var for example, let's just say status equal to is user active, then do active, else not active. Now let's print the status. Here, as we can see, that this is mean that if the user is active, print or return that, so that this variable status will have the active string. This mean else, which is will take the string not active. So in our case, which because it's false, it will take the status will take the not active string. So if you try to print it here, it should be not active. Now this is all about the if and else. In the next video, we will speak about the loops. Thank you. In Swift, the for loop is used to run a block of code a certain number of times. It's used to iterate over any sequence such as an array, range, string, and so on. For example, let's have a simple array with a random numbers. And let's have the lit ages with an array of type integer. And we have 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now, if I ask you to print all of the elements of that array, you would simply go with print getting the array, and then you pass the index, and this is the normal way which we take it already in the previous videos, like that, and boom, yeah, you already done that. But it's not make sense because you are doing that manual. Imagine if you have a tons of that, like you have a lot of them. Imagine how many time you are going to print. It's not make sense, right? So let's go with the right way, which is defining a loop for age, which is mean for I in ages, print age. That means for age, each ages will have iterated x times, which will 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which will 5 times here. It will have the loop, and every time the loop is being iterated, it will have the value 20, for example. It would be with the age variable, and then 21, and then 22, and that, and so on. So if you try to run this code simply, you will find here in the console that it's print all of the element of the array, no matter what. If you want to add some specific rule, like if you want to print only the ages which is having the 24, you can do that by doing a where age, which means this variable, which means this value each time it iterate, where age is equal to 24. That means every time the loop is executed, it will check for the number. For the first time, it would say for index 0, which is 20. Is it 20 is equal to 24? No, it's not equal. So this will code, the piece of code will not execute it. It will go to 21, then 22, then 23, and finally in 24, yeah, the condition here is met. So the piece of code that between these brackets will be executed. Now, there is another type of loops which related to the same loop for sure. For example, if you want to do some range for loop. Range for loop mean with by index. For example, for I in from 0 to 25, like that, print I. So that's mean I want to print all the values starting from 0 ending with 25. If I want it to 24, that mean that I want to go from 0 and any number but less than 25. So it will be from 0 to 24, like that. That's fantastic. For now, as you can see, the for loop is something easy to create and build with Swift. So for this video, we are done with the loops. And in the next one, we will speak about the enums. Thank you. Enumerations, or enums for short in Swift, it's a common type for a group of related values. A simple example of that would be the following. Let's have enum word with a phone, and let's write some types, case iPhone X, case iPhone 13, and case iPhone 14. Then we want to create a function which returns the user opinion of each phone. Simply we write function get user opinion. Here you can write whatever label you want. If you want, for example, get user opinion for phone, which is the parameter that we will pass, which will take the type of enum phone. Now simply if we try to do some if phone, which is related to this type, that means if I said if phone equal to dot iPhone X, print this iPhone is too old. Else if phone is equal to iPhone 13, print this iPhone is pretty cool. Else if phone equal to 14, print this is the latest iPhones. If you want to add else in case there is another cases that you don't want to, for example, case Nokia, print this mobile phone is not supported. So we have this function which will be executed when I pass a value of one of this, and it should print whatever thing about my user opinion about the phone. So to call it, you just simply get good user opinion for let's just say for Nokia, and have a run here. We will have this mobile phone is not supported. If we try to do for iPhone X or iPhone 14, you will have this is the latest iPhone. So this is all about enums. Let's stop hard coding the numbers and string and trying to do it types. In the next video, we will be the final video for the chapter 3, which will be the switch cases. Thank you. The switch statement in Swift lets you inspect a value and match it with many cases. For example, let's do a switch case for the font type that we already have been implemented here and see how it goes. Imagine if you can do the following. Let's have this comment and simply say switch phone, and then you do the following: case dot print something, which is like that, and same for other case dot iPhone 413. It should print, sorry, print this one. We have the case dot iPhone X, which will print, this is more cool. And finally, you can say not else default, which means anything else, please print that. And here we go. This is the if else and this is the switch case. Let's have it run here. We have, yeah, we forget this to run dot, and let's see. We will see the iPhone is too old, which is the iPhone 14. Yeah, it's new, sorry. So we will change it to new to make it more cool, like this. Okay, then what is the difference between the switch and if? As you can see, the switch should have all the condition, not you can just only write one and that's it. You need to cover all the condition, but else you can just cover some of the condition. You need to know that the performance for if and else is more cool and better than the switch case. There is something you need to understand about the switch. If, for example, if you said switch and then type phone, then you try to open these brackets and wait one more second, you will see that switch must be exhausted. If you click here, simply it will fill all the cases that is in font type, like that, simply, without typing an if and else and so on. So this is about the switch cases. It's similar to if condition. It's up to you to where and when to use it, but in all cases it will do the same situation. Now we almost finished all the basics that we need to start digging inside the Xcode. Keep watching for the last chapter of the Swift fundamental, and thank you. Here that means that you finished chapter 3, which is pretty hard, but we just get started. In this chapter we will have the following topics: the operators, the guard and iflet, the wrap and the classes and struct, and finally the extensions. Starting with the operator. An operator is a special symbol or phrase that you use to check, change, or combine values. Example of the symbol, and I'm sure all of you, at least you know one of them. For example, we have the plus for the summation, the minus, the multiply for the stars. We have for divided symbol, and we have the percentage for the remainder. We have the greater than, bigger than, smaller than. We have less than or equal, greater than or equal, and many more. We have the equal, we have the and, we have the or. And just to make it more clear for you, let's have a simple example for and or operator and see how it goes. For example, we have a var for user is equal to admin, and var age is equal to, like, say 25. var let's just say that the role is manager. So let's write some if condition. If user is equal to admin, this is operator, and you can write it like that, and role is equal to manager. Let's do something Here we use operator AND, which means that this condition and this condition should return true. So in our case, is the user is admin? Yes, he is. Is the user have a rule manager? Yes, he have. So this code will be executed. But in AND condition, as we all know, for example, let's have here as a supervisor. Here, the first condition is true. The second condition is false. So true and false is equal to false in AND condition. But if we use OR, that means at least one of these two conditions should be true in order to execute the code between the brackets. So in our case, let's print here executed. Let's print it out. So the first one is user is equal to admin, which is true. The rule is supervisor, but it's strong here. But anyway, this one true, so it doesn't matter about other conditions. But if we just change it to we will have nothing will be printed because this condition has been met, but this didn't met. So yeah, so this is only about the operator. Many operator you can use if you want, like for example, if like 15 is more than age, this is the bigger, you can use the more less than or equal, and maybe greater than or equal or not equal, or you can say something like for example, you can say something like that if you want, is equal to 2022, or maybe something like that. You can use all the operator whatever time you want in the Swift, and you will mostly use most of them when you start working in real application. But for now, this is for the operator. In the next video, we will speak about the guard and iflit with unwrap. Thank you. Let's speak about the unwrapping optionals. Optional string might contain a string like hello, or they might be null, nothing at all. Let's consider having a variable called var name with a type of string, and it will be with a question mark, which means it can accept the null value. What happens if we try to print name.count? The count here means like it will print how many letters in that string. If we try to print it out, we should get null because there is no name here. Now, to protect this variable, or we can say to guard that variable and use it in case only there is a variable, commonly we have the iflit new unwrap, let's just name it unwrap name is equal to the name print with unwrapped name dot count letters, else print no value found. Here I'm checking if a name hold a string, if this variable hold a string, it will be put it inside the unwrapped name variable as a regular string, so it protects the value to be a string here, and we can read it as well and use it here inside this block of code. Alternatively, if the name is empty, the else will be executed. So in this situation, if we run the application, we will have the no value found. But if we try to give this a variable, or this variable a value like Ahmed, it should print the number of counting for this letter, which is 5 letters, like 1 2 3 4 5 5, and that's it. This is all for the iflit and the unwrap. In case like you are going to use it inside your application, there is another way which is called guardlet. You can use it like guardlet unwrap name is equal to name else return. You can use that in the code. It will not work here in the playground because return is not allowed in the playground anymore. It's invalid outside of the function. So if you want to use it inside the function, it will work fine. But this will meaning that if there is a code here like print test and you try to pass a null value here, first it will check if the name is not null. Yes, let's take this name and put it in this variable as if let, and let's just use it again here. Else you need to execute the bunch of code that is between the rounded this brackets. This is all about the unwrap, the iflet, and the guardlet, which will protect our variables from being null variables. Thank you. What is class and struct? It's a building blocks of flexible constructs. You can define class properties and method like constants, variable, and functions. For example, let's have a student class. You can write a class by writing class with the class name student. The student have var name with a value string, var age with a value integer, and var bus with a value boolean. Every class need initializer or init. You can write it and then open brackets, or you can use the built-in one like that. You need to pass the parameters for it and the statement. The parameters that mean any value is coming from outside the scope. For example, we will have the name from outside the scope, we will have the age from outside the scope, and we will have also the bus from outside the scope, which will have the string, int, and boolean. Now self mean any variable or function inside, or let's say any variable or property inside that class. So when we say self.name is referring to that. So self.name is equal to the name. The name here is coming from outside the class. Same for age and same for bus. Now if we try to start defining a student, try let student is equal to student class, and we will give him the value, which is my name, the age, and finally the bus false. Now if we try to get the value, which is print student dot name, that means we will have the name Ahmed here. Now if we try to print the age, we will have the same student.age. Wonderful. Now we can also define a function inside the class. For example, func check if he failed, if self.pass, which will be the same equal to bus if bus, print when, else print fail. Great. Now let's call this function like that, student dot check if he failed, and run it out. And here we go, he is failed. Why? Because we having the variable bus is equal to false. Okay, imagine if we want to change this variable, which here called the setter or set value. Simply we can just say student put bus is equal to true. That's it. Let's have it run away. And boom, he is win. Why? Because we changed the value after we set the class. So this is all about the class. The difference is now between the struct is simply we don't need an initializer for the struct. We will remove that. We will change class to struct. And finally, because this will be a constant, we need to make it a var, not a let. Now, if we try to run the code, it should run the same thing, the same way. Yeah, as you can see here, everything is wonderful. Let's just remove that to make sure that he's failing. Yeah, which is not, but let's see. And yes, he's failed. Now, I want to say something, and this is about the difference between the struct and the class. The only difference is that the class is a reference type while the struct is a value type. This is all for the class and struct. In the next video, we'll speak about the extensions, and it will be the final video for the Swift Basic. Thank you. Extensions. A Swift extension allows you to add functionality to a type, a class, a struct, an enum, or a protocol. But extensions are more powerful than that. For example, let's have an extension for type string. Inside this extension, we will have a function called remove white space, and it should return string. Inside this code of block, we will write the following: return components separated by dot white space dot join. Now let's have a simple example here. Let a name equal to A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There is a white space here. If we try to print it, name, let's see, we have the variable with the spaces. If we want without any spaces, we can simply write name dot remove white space, which is the function that we extension with which we create extension, which is related to a string type. Now if we run this code, we will see that the spaces has been removed. You can see like this is more cool. Like imagine you can do something like extension for integer func convert, or let's just say to string, and we can say return string for self. Now if we have a variable called let number 100 and we want this value to be converted to string, simply you can say number dot to string. That's it. This is the method that we create. It will convert the self is referring to the number, which is 100, to the string. So if we print it out like that, we should expect it the 100 in string value. This is between double quotation. This is all what we need to know about the extension, and in the chapter at all. In chapter 5, we will start digging into Xcode to start learning how to create apps. Thank you. Now we finish most of the Swift fundamentals that we may use or not use in creating apps. One more step before you start creating your own application. In this chapter, we will have a tour of the Xcode and learn how to create the constraint and use the stacked views and even more. We will also create the table view, and we will also covering the button interactive and more. Starting with the Xcode tour. As we speak before about the Xcode, which will be our IDE for creating iOS apps using Swift, we will only have a look over the basic things for the Xcode, starting from creating a new project, then implementing a simple design, and then running the app. This is how we create a project. Simply, we go from File, New, and then Project. We select the iOS because our course is all about the iOS development for mobile phones, and then we select an app, then click Next. Here you can name your own application, for example, new app. The theme is referred to the developer account that you have. In case you don't have any developer account, you can just put it none. The organization identifier, in case you want to publish your application over the App Store, there should be a bundle identifier which should be unique. For example, I have a company called a new line. It should be something like com.newline, and in dot it will be covered by our product name. Now the interface should be selected as storyboard. The language should be Swift, and then you can click next and create. Now, symbol, we need to symbol this huge program with a basic thing to create application. We have the left menu here. We will have the files, the Swift files that we will start writing the code here. We having the storyboard, which mean here is come the UI. We have the assets, which will, in case we have an images or something, we can bring them here. Now, for the right menu here, it's called the inspector, which means if you try to click over anything, you will find that this view is changeable regardless what are you selected. So if you select the controller, it will show that this is for you. If you select a view, if you select a file, if you select anything, you will have all the details here. So from here, we can run the application by clicking here, and this is for stopping the application in case you wanna stop the building. Let's hit it run and see how it goes. It will automatically open the simulator. Like imagine you have your own iPhone 14 Pro, but yeah, only on your own Mac, not in real life. But this is a simulator, is the same as real iPhone 14 Pro. So you will have the same functionality there and here. Please wait once this launch so we can continue to get the tour about the Xcode. Until it's launched, we can say that we have here the working space area, which will cover all the design part or even the code. So whatever you are selecting here, you will have this work area. And finally, we have let's just say the basic thing which is related to the main storyboard. Here from the plus, we will have all the elements that we can use, or the component or the UI component that can be used to create an apps, starting from labels, buttons, switcher, slider, activator, blah blah blah, and so on. That's all that you need to know about the Xcode. And in the next video we'll speak about the layout and the constraint, and until that it will just keep running here. So in the next video it should be running well to start digging and creating some design here. Thank you. About the constraint. So first we need to understand how we can manage to design an app. First we go to the storyboard, and then let's drag some Xcode elements. The storyboard is here called main. You just click over the main here. Then you can add whatever elements you want from the plus button here. You can add label, button, image, or even switcher, or anything or any component related to the Apple UI kit. So in our case, let's have a simple example with adding a label here with a name. You can change the name here. Hi visitor. And we want a view, which will be here. We want it to be in the center, and we want a label to be under this view. So first of all, you can, as we speak in previous Xcode tour, you can change whatever you want from the inspector, which will change over whatever you click. For example, I click over the view. I can change the background color from here. Let's have it orange color. I have the label here. You can change the text from here, and you can change the font size and more and more and more. Or same for the label, same for the view. Every option is showing here. It's depend on what you are clicking for. So what is the constraint exactly? We all know, we have multiple size or multiple iPhones, which each iPhone have its own size. So this is the max one, the bigger one, and this is how it looks for the smallest one. It's not make sense, right? It's not in the center. It's bad design. So our job in constraint is make the same design showing over all the iPhone in the same way. So starting from high visitor, we want it to be in the top left with a 8 distance or 8 space between the top and the left. So simply you can add a new constraint from here and adding a top constraint with 8 and left constraint with 8, and then here we go. Same if you want to make this view in the center, or let's just before we put it in the center to see how it goes for the smallest iPhone. Look, it should be in the same position even for the smaller iPhone, like that. Now let's make this view in the center of this view. Yeah, this view is a child of this view. We can name this container, by the way. Now click over the view, and then you can see here this button, which is called align, which is related for the alignment. I want to be in the center of the container, which is a center of the view controller, in horizontal and vertical way. Now it gives you a red line, which means that this view will not showing exactly the same over all the sides of the iPhones. So we need to fix this problem. The problem is simply it telling me that there's a missing constraint, that there is a missing width and height for this view. The mobile cannot understand what is the width of this view. So simply we can add a constraint for the width and view, for the width and height, from clicking here, add constraint, going for the width, and let's just add 100 for the width and 100 for the height. Here we go. The red line is gone, and the box now you can see over all the iPhone in the center of the screen. If you go here, all in the center. That's wonderful. Now we have the last thing is the label. We want it to be in the center for that view, and also a top distance was like, let's just say 20 would be fine. There is another option, or there is another way to add a constraint for components here. You will get used. We use the first one, the easy one from here. The other one, you can click whatever component, then click the control button and drag to wherever you want. So I want this label to be in the center horizontal for that view. It will be in the center related to that view. Also, I want the space, which is the vertical space here, to be 20. You click over that, and then you change the constant to be 20. Cool. Now if we try to go for all type of the iPhone, starting from the smallest one, you will see that everything is running smooth without any problems, like that. Now let's manage to run the application by clicking the play button here and see how it looks over the smallest iPhone. Yes, it's great. It's the same thing without any problem. Now, since you understand how the constraint is working, we will explain the stack view in the next video. Thank you. How the constraint is work, we need to start thinking about what is the stack view. If you click here for plus, then search for stack view, there is two types of stack view, the horizontal and the vertical one. So let's drag the horizontal here, and then we will have this box. Inside that box, for example, let's have multiple labels. This is the label number 1. We have another label. Let's have label number 2, and let's have label number 3. We can also get number 4 if we want, and that's it. Now this stack is contained 4 labels. What is exactly we can do with stack view? First, let's add a constraint for that stack view. We need it to be in the top of the label with 8 spaces, and we need to take it from the left 0 and from the right 0, which will mean it will start from the edge of the screen ending with the other edge of the screen. But this is weird. The label here is not equal, and there's a red color, which does not make sense. So you can do with stack view the following. Here you will find that there is two types, as we say, for the stack view, the horizontal and the vertical one. So let's start with horizontal one. Imagine if you have 6 images or 7 images, and you wanna make all of them in the center first, and the distribution is between them, like for example fill equally. What does it mean fill equally? That the space for all the label would be the same space. So the calculation and math would be done by the stack view. You don't need to add any constraint here. Now, because you can see that the label is not center, it's because there is a space here for the label, but the label itself, the alignment isn't at the center. So if we just select all of them and make it in the center, they will looks like what you want. Now, the stack view can be also fill space equal spacing. What does it mean? It means that the space of the screen will be divided by how many elements inside the stack view, and give it that space for all of them. So the space here is equal to the space here, equal to the space here. This is mostly all about to use something repeatedly without adding more constraint if you want, but this is how mostly we use the stack view. This is all about this video. In the next video we'll speak about the buttons and to make it more interactive application. Thank you. Come to the most cool part of creating apps. To make it more interactive, as we can see here, there is a label which is static, there is a view which is static, and there is no any communication, like you can't feel the interactive between the user and your application. If we run it here, we will find just a couple of labels, a view here, and that's it. So let's just have fun. First, we wanna drag new button here, call button, and we want to add constraint to make it in the button and to give it a space from the left 30 and from the right 30, and we want to give it a height of 55. Cool. Now let's just give him some style for background. Let's just make it this color, and for the light, to make it more clear for the button, you can change the text color by changing the foreground. This is for the new Xcode, by the way. Let's just have it black. That's cool. Now let's have change something, the text, for example, with writing here login. Cool. So we have a button here called login. Now we wanna duplicate this button by clicking option and then drag up. Now we have a same duplicate of that button with the same constraint for that button. So all what we need is, for example, I wanted this button to be in the leading for that button. See, it will be starting in the same leading of that button. Same for the trailing, will be the ending of that button. Now for there's still error, the red one, because it doesn't understand where should it go. Is it going to be up or down? I want to link it here with a space between these two buttons, or you can drag it anywhere with the space of 20. Now we have no problem with the constraint, and let's rename that logout. Let's just bring it more to red color and sprinkle it with a light white color. That's wonderful. We can name it with the blue. It will be more tint color like that. Yeah, that's wonderful. And let's have the white color. Cool. Now if we run our application, you will find that there is two buttons here, and if we try to click over this button, nothing will happen. Nothing. Now let's add some interaction here. You click over the view controller, then you will find this icon which is called adjust editor options. You click over that, and then you select the assistant. What the assistant mean? It's mean that this controller, which is this class, is called view controller. You can add your own code here. So whatever code you're writing here, it reflects for that view because they are both linked with the class name. So for example, let's have this label, hi visitor, drag it with control to the class called view controller, which is related to that, and name it welcome message. So we have a label here called welcome message. If we try, oh yeah, that's what does it mean view did load? View did load mean that whenever this view is loaded or like it's showing up, you need to execute a couple of the codes. So here you can say welcome message dot text, sorry, is equal to new text. So now if we try to run the application, we will find that this text has been changed to the new one, which I call it new text, like that. That's wonderful. So let's have something more cool. We want to do something like when we create the login button, it change the value here to hi my name. Simply you drag login, be like use control to here, and here you find the connection. What is the type of the connection? Is it only outlet, or it is an action which we want? Yeah, it's an action, and this action called login action. For example, you will see that there is event here. The event have multiple things. For example, if you try to drag enter, to drag exit, to drag inside, drag outside, there is a lot of event for the button, by the way, not only just touch it up. But for now, we want a touch up inside, which means when the user clicked. So when the user clicked, we want to change the welcome message to text to welcome Ahmed. Let's try it out. Run the application now, and let's see the result. So it is hi visitor now. If I try to click over the login, it should print welcome Ahmed here. Like it should change the label name to be it as we write it in the code. So this is the interactivity of the buttons. Let's add more cool thing. Whenever the user click logout, we need to change the label here to make it goodbye. We need to change the background color of this view, and we need to hide the stack view and this label. So to do that, first of all, we need to connect the outlet of each element you wanna start to controlling with. For example, starting from the view, center view, then the label, hidden, or let's say subtitle label, and finally we want to hide the stack view. Let's just say welcome stack view. Now we want to drag the logout action, control, drag here, action, logout, and let's connect. We said that when the user click logout, we should change the welcome message to text to goodbye, and it changed the background color of the view to be, for example, a red, which is a center view dot background color dot red. And finally, we will hide this label and the stack view simply by saying subtitle dot is hidden is equal to true. Same for the stack view, which is welcome stack view dot is hidden is equal to true. Now cool. Now let's just make it more great so it can be a cool application. Whenever he click login again, we want to show the subtitle and the stack view. So we want to change the status of is hidden to false, and same here. And finally, we want to change the center view to green, not red. That's wonderful. So let's run the application. So in the first case, we are a visitor. We are not logged in or we are not logged out yet. As a visitor, we can see everything. Now, if we try to write a logout, or it's changed to goodbye, it's hide the stack view and hiding the label, and it change the background color of the center view to red. Now, if we try to write a login, it is welcome Ahmad, which is the executed code. It showed the stack view, it showed the label, and finally it changed the color of the view that in the center. This is how cool, and this is how you can make your app more active with activity with the users. So this is what you need to care about when you are working on your application. You need to think to make it more cool so the user can love it. For now, this is all about the buttons. In the last video and next one, we will speak about the table view, which will be something upcoming to be advanced topic, but you need to know about that since it's something important when it comes to create an applications. That's all. Thank you. When you want to show a list of things inside your application, like a list of food, a list of names, a list of contact. Imagine how many labels you are going to copy and paste. It's too long and it's not make sense. So the table view come here to fix this problem for you. You create one cell and then this cell is repeated X times with the data that you wanna pass it for sure. Let's have a quick example of how to create a simple table view in Swift. Simply, you start by dragging a table view from the last button here, table view, and then adding a constraint for that table view. We want to be in the top 0, in the left 0, in the right 0, and in the bottom 0. So it's covering all the screen, but the safe area will not cover it by word. Now, this table view is meaning that we will have a list cell by cell. To start programming that, first we need to draw the cell. We go for our application here, new file or command N, and then you select Kokatachi class, which means already predefined classes, and then your name is here, for example, custom cell, and you check the also create the xib file, which means create the view file for that cell. Then next, and then you create. Now we have a custom cell to review cell here, and we have the view for that. So this view, if you go to the assistant that we already described it in the last video, you will find that this class is related to that view. So simply, let's have a label here, drag it here, and let's have a constraint for that label, like from the top 8, from the right 8, from the left 8, from the bottom 8, and let's center this label, and then we want this label to be dragged here and write the contact name. So now we have a cell, have a label, and this label having the variable called contact name. Now we finished designing the cell. We can do something like, maybe if you want, you can change the background color of the cell. For example, let's have it more blue. It will be wonderful. Now let's back to our main storyboard and let's start programming the table view. First of all, you drag the outlet for the table view like that, and you name it whatever you want. I name it table view. Now you need to use the extension. If you remember, we speak about that in previous videos about the extension. You can extend whatever type you want, method, function, type, constant, and so on. So you want to do an extension of our class. It's like more beautiful or organizing your files with these two protocols. The first protocol called UI table view delegate and the UI table view data source. What does these two protocols mean? These two protocols mean that in order to make this table view running, you need to call some required function. What is this function? First function is called, one moment, cell for row. What does this function mean? It means that what cell exactly you want to load inside your application, which is the custom cell that we already predefined it here. The second one is called, one moment, number of row in section. How many row do you have in one section? So imagine you have 10 section. Each section have 3 numbers. Let's just say we have return 10. Why? Because this is a function expect from us an integer value. Now, is there something also missing? One moment, sorry. This also should return UI table view cell. That's all what we need in order to make a table view work. In case you want an optional function, for example, number of sections, how many sections we have in this table view. Let's just say we have 2 sections. You can define a height for the cell. What is the size of the cell? So you can use height for row at and return. For example, we want a cell to make it let's say 55, and let's run the application now. As we expected, it should not working. Why? Because we already created a table view, but we didn't link the delegation and data source yet. What does that mean? That we didn't even give them the data or even give them the right to use this table view inside data view controller. So to do that, simply you can write the following: table view dot delegate is equal to self, and table view dot data source is equal to self. Now, if you try to open the application, you would see something new now, like there is scrolling. As you can see, it's a list. That's cool. Now I want a one section, and I want a one row, and I want the height to be dynamic. So the content would be dynamic. You can do that by writing UI table view dot automatic dimension. So it will automatically adjust the height regarding what inside the cells. That's wonderful. We are now ready to link our own custom cell that we created with our table view. To start doing that, we need to use the guardlet. Why guardlet? Because this is expected UI table view cell, and we want to make sure that he is getting that table view cell. So we have a guardlet cell is equal, because this cell has a view which called bundle. We will call it with bundle dot load dot bundle dot main dot load nib. You find the nib name, it's the same custom cell table view. We will just take it here and put it here. The owner will be self, like any function is related to the cell, that cell, it will be a controller by this view controller. Then dot first. Why dot first? Because there could be another name but inside another folder inside your application. So we want only the first one, because other than that we will have crash. And then we will make it as custom table view cell, else return UI table view cell, and here else return cell. Now let's explain exactly what's going on here. Again, we have the cell loaded from the custom one that's created. We assigned it with our class. Why? Because we want to control the label here by our own custom data. So now, in case this cell exists in the project, now return it for me, else return some random UI table view cell, which is this one, the empty one. Now let's try to run application. We should expect to get this cell with this label. And here we go. We have the label here. So let's try it out and add more numbers. For example, let's have a 10 and run it again. We have now number of rows in a section. We can see now 10 of custom cell. Now no more repeating. We didn't repeat anything, as you can see. It's already automatic and dynamic using the table view. Now finally, we want this value to be changeable by us. So for example, we have array here for names. It should be array of string is equal to Ahmed, Muhammad, Saeed, and finally Fatih. Now we have 4 names. We want the number of row in section not static. We want to be the names, which is this array dot count. That means it should return 1 2 3 4. So we expect, if we run the application, to get 4 element or 4 row only. Let's see. That's wonderful. We have 4. Now we want to change the label to depend on what exactly inside the array. Simply you can do the following. If you write cell dot, it show you here all the properties that inside the custom cell table view here. So as we remember, we already named there, we have the contact name. So you can say cell dot contact name dot text, because it's a label, it's equal to the array name, and you can open the brackets, and here you can say index path, which is contain the section plus the current row that is loaded. So in our case, we have dot, we have the row, and we have the section. So in our case, we have the row. Every time you are trying to load a cell, it will start from 0 1 2 3, and that's it. So what we are doing here, whenever you load the cell, go for this variable which is called names and get me the name. It's called Ahmed or Muhammad or Said or Fatih, using the index that table view provide you with. So it's all already implemented by the iOS. You only need to pass for them your own value. So let's try now to build the application and see the result. And here we go. We have the names, wonderful, as in the array. Now if you have multiple variables here, whatever you add, plus test, and so on, you would see that they are added automatically without one single write of code. Like that. And in that situation, we can say that, yeah, we can manage the table view, and we managed to do something more advanced in this course, which is for sure the table view. There is other topics like collection view, like let's say the image view and stuff like that. There's the blur view also. There is the progress, there is the switcher, there is more components for the UI kit. But we can say that this is as a gift from us for you guys to see how much you can do and like effort inside your application using this component. So this is a simple example of that. In the next video, we will try to create a to-do app using all the material that has been learned in this course, and I wish you all the best. Thank you. This is tutorial creating a to-do app, simple one, from the course that you learned about Swift. Starting with the design, you will be provided by a Figma design from your own designer or from our company. For example, in my case, this is a splash screen and this is the design. So once the app is open, we will have this home screen which will contain your picture, the label here, and there is a remove button which will remove all the tasks. We will have a text field here to write your own task, then click the button plus to add it to table view, And once you click over any kind of task, it will be changed to completed. If you click again, it will change to in progress. So this is a simple app. We would start working it right now. Let's go for the Xcode, file, new project, and this app should be to do app. Next, desktop, create. So wonderful, we have this app, and let's have the simulator. Okay, starting from the assets, we back to Figma. We have here picture. We just click over that, then export from here, and then we want it as PDF, export a group, desktop. Now we back to the Xcode. We open the Finder, we go to desktop, we drag it here. So we have the first asset in folder assets. Because it's a PDF which is similar to SVG in Android, you need to be scaled to be individual or single scale, not individual scales. It will be a single scale because it will be dynamic, be getting bigger or smaller regarding what font size. So we go to the launch screen here. As we can see in the design, the background is color is black. Click here, we change the background color for black, and now we drag an image view like this. We want this image view to be in the center of the screen, center horizontal and center vertical as we take in the constraint. And from here you select the image that we already implemented, which is the to-do one. Cool. Now let's run the application and see how it looks. We should see that once the application is open, we could see the splash screen coming and then fading out to the main storyboard. Let's see. There you go. That's wonderful. It will open the launch screen, then it will move on for the main storyboard. Now, let's go and start design the home screen like that. Simply, we have an image here with a size of width and height at 42. Let's change the background color to black. We need to have image, or let's start with the label. Put it in the center. Change, we select that label, we change the color to white, and then we want to be in the center of the screen with a space like a 10 from above. We give it a 10 from top, and we want it in horizontal, center horizontal, and safe area. Now we have a label in the center of the screen. We need now image view, as you can see here. This image is centered according to the label and having a space from the right 24. So simply you add a constraint here. I want a width to be 42, and the right space should be 24. Click enter. Now finally we wanna center it according to the label. Simply you can drag, drop to the label, and center vertically. That's it, we have the image. Now let's export the image from here. We click the image, we click export. We want to be in the PNG, it doesn't matter. Let's just go with save. Now we have the image, we need to move it to the assets. Simply drag it and drop, and here we go, we have our own image here. So let's name it as profile image, and then if we back to our main storyboard, we can change the image here to be profile image. Here we go, that's wonderful. Now we have also a buttons here with this icon. So we want to export this icon as a PDF because it's icon. Then we want to import it to our assets here, delete task example, and then we change the scale to be in single scale, and finally we want to add the button here, button. It will take 24 from the left and center according to the label, 24 and center to the label. And finally we want an image, not a label. We will remove the label from here and we select the task, delete task icon. Here we go, we have it right now. What else is missing? We have now a text field here called write your to-do task, and there's a plus button. Simply we can drag a view like that, and here we go, like this. This view having a height is, let's say, see the height, it's 48, and having a space 24 from the left, and having a space from between the button is like 30. So simply you can say that I want it to be from the left 24 space, from the top 18 almost, and for the height of this view we say that it's 48. Finally we will create the button here, and this button should be circled and there is a plus inside of that. You have two options. First one is exporting it, which will be something like going here, export, we want it to be in PDF. Let's go here, save, let's back to assets and move it here. Sorry, where is it? Date. We have it here. Let's name it add and make it single scale. Any PDF file, any PDF assets, it should be single scale. Now let's back to the main storyboard and do the constraint for the buttons. We want from the right 24, from the left it was 13 I think. Now we will make it also center according to that view, and finally we will change the image to be add, and let's remove the button for sure. That's wonderful. So let's back to the design. So the background here, it looks more darker, so we click the view, change the background, go to custom, and then you change the hex color from here. That's wonderful. Now we want this to be a text editor. There is a new component called text field here. You can drag and drop. We don't want a background for that text field, and we want it to start from here, which will take 12 for all the distance, so we can simply just say 12, 12, 12 and 12 for the label, and then we can remove the border from here. We don't want any border for that text field. We want the placeholder, which write your to-do task. We go back, we write here to write your to-do task, and finally we need the table view here. So let's have the table view. We already speak about that in the last video of the last chapter. We will have a constraint of that table view from above, let's just say 20, from the right and left 0, 0, and from the bottom 0. That's wonderful. Now let's create a new cell, new file, and then touch class, and let's just name it as to do table view cell with the xib, and then create. That's wonderful. Now let's design the cell. So the cell should be have the following. First, we want to clear the color. And now let's create and design our own cell. We want a view. Where is the view? That's it. We want to make it as 0 from top, 0 from left, 0 from right, and 0 from bottom. We want this view to be background color with this color. Simply. All of the things that I'm doing right now is something would be simple for you and will be duplicated with any design you will have in the future. So that's wonderful. We have a label, and finally we have a status here. So we will have a label here. The color for that label is white, and we have here we can okay, we can say that it's a view. Inside that view there is a text. So simply you can do the following. One moment. Yeah, we will do that. Let's have a view. Where is the view? Here. Move it. That's cool. And inside that view there is a label. That's wonderful. So let's start designing that cell to be the same as we expect. Okay, starting from the background view, this one. Drag and drop to cell and back view. Why? We want to add some radius here. As you can see, there is a radius, and this radius is 4. So simply you just come back view. Then we can do the following. Func initialize cell, and then back view dot layer dot border, or we can say corner radius is equal to 4, back dot layer dot mask to pound equal to true. Cool. Now we want this label to be dynamic height because the to-do can be too long. So simply we will define it as a 2, or wait, let's just say 8 from top, 8 from left, 8 from right, and 8 from bottom. The label here should be dynamic according to the text inside. So this text will be something like 444, and finally the label here will be, or sorry, the view will be in the right drilling. Let's just say we want to be it like it maybe 8. Sorry. Yes, that's wonderful. Now there is problem, which is what is the priority for which label? There is a view here and there is a view here. Both are right, but we need to give it a priority. As we can see here, you can click and you can click change the relation to be greater than or equal. What does it mean? It means that this label can be greater than or equal to that text. So the priority for that label. Yeah, for now, this is already center, I think. Let me check. Center vertically. Yes, that's wonderful. And the background should be this color. Back to background, custom. We change it from here. That's cool. This view, status, sorry, set it here. The back view is for that, and for this we will have status view, and simply we want the label inside status label. Now we want to do the following. We will have to status view dot layer dot corner radius is equal to 4, and status view dot layer dot mask to bounds is equal to true. Wonderful. Now we have the cell almost ready, but once we run the application we will see the exactly design here. Yeah, we need to change the color of the text for sure. So this should be white, and let's increase a little space from the left and right, from the leading 8, from the trailing 8, sorry, 8, and then let's have this is small size little, and we change it to in progress. That's cool. Now we finish the cell. That's wonderful. Now let's back to the main storyboard. Back to the main storyboard. As we all understand, we got the assistant to start programming our app. So we have first this action, which is delete all tasks, and the connection should be action touch up inside. Yes, that's correct. The same here, we want to add a task, add task, which will the action will be touch up inside. That's wonderful. That's great. Now, sometime when you start to drag and drop, sometime for some reason the assistant is getting to be assistant, not assistant result, and this can be caused by a wrong with file, or simply because the computer, the Xcode didn't build that well. So if you try to like refresh or closing the Xcode or open it again, or maybe trying to fix any problem with your file, it should be open like that without any problem. Now we have our own text field here, which will be the text field task, and we have the table of view here, table view. As you can see, I'm trying to do a lot of things. Let's back, assistant, still loading. Yeah, that's it. So what else we are missing here? That's all that we need. Yeah, let's start programming a table view the same way that we did in the last previous video. I will be more faster here because we already did that before. UI table view delegate, then UI table view data source. We will have the number of section, return 1, number of row, return 10 for example, cell for row, guard let cell is equal to bundle dot main dot load nib, which is named table view cell. The owner will be the same file dot first as the name of the class, else return, or you can say fatal error maybe, unable to define the cell, and then you can say return cell, and finally we want to be a height for row to be a table view dot automatic dimension, or sorry, UI table view dot automatic dimension, so it can be automatic height for the row. Now we want to run the application to make sure that our cell is designed very well. So if you try to open the application, oh yeah, we forget about doing a table view dot delegate is equal to self, and table view dot data source is equal to self. Now let's run the application again. Let's close everything here and try it again. Let's back here. Here we go, and wait. So the splash screen is open first, then yeah, here we go. This is the cells. That's perfect. Okay. Now let's continue working on that, because there is a white color here. Why? Because the table view didn't complete it yet. So what we are going to do is simply make the background color of the table view is clear, like that. Now we wanna make sure to add some little round things for this one by simply we already did that. we go back to the cell. Inside the awake from nib, we can call this function, which is called initialize cell. So this one will create a corner radius for the back view and for the status view. Let's run the app again. And here we go. We have it rounded here, we have rounded here. But as we can see here in the design, there should be some space, which is 24. So we will back to the table view here in the main, and we want the trailing, the trailing would be 24, and the align leading will be 24. That's wonderful. Let's run that again. Now that's cool. That's wonderful. Now if you want extra space from bottom, you can simply go back to the cell and you go back to back view. Then because we already defined it as a 0 from top and bottom, you can simply add more extra space for bottom as let's say 12 space, and let's run the app again. And here we go. We have now the space. Now it's wonderful. Now let's add some little design for that and remove the selection from here. Let's back to the main view controller. We go to the table view option here. Then we go up and we remove the line which is between the cells, which is more annoying. You click here the table view, you go for separator and select none. You can also do something so you can prevent the problem when you select a cell. You want to make that the selection is a none, so you don't have the white style when you click over any cell. Let's have a see what's going on right now. So now we have no lines, and when we click anything, nothing happening here, no style. Now let's finish the text field here so we can finish the design part, then we start coding. Cool. Is this, yeah, we should make it light color. This is weird. Okay, here we go. That's wonderful. Now let's back to the view controller and go back to the main. So we have the view here. We drag, drop the back view. The back view, when the view is loaded, make it layer.corner radius is equal to 4, layer.mask bounds is equal to true. Now we can see that the background of the text field has been changed to be rounded like that. That's great. It's almost the same design. Yeah, but the more different here that we need to make a border width here with a border like border color, for example, for gray. We simply click here and get the value of the stroke. We can do that with Xcode by doing back view dot layer dot border color is equal, for example, to gray, or let's just say UI color dot gray dot I think .tg color, and then back view dot layer dot border width we want to be a 1. Let's have it run, and here we go. We should see some border here. That's wonderful. So because this is a placeholder, once you write something here, it should be filled. So we want the color of that to be changed also. We will take the code, we go back here, we change the back view, we go to the text field, and we change the color to make it more readable like that. Fine, that's cool. Now let's see everything, how it goes. So we have the design now ready, the constraint ready, no problems. We have the design almost the same. Now we want to do everything in coding, starting from all the things that you learned before. Let's start with doing a class or a struct. New Swift file. Let's call it model. We will have a struct called to do, or maybe to do task, which will contain the status, or you can name it as var the task, or we can name it the task. It will be string, and we also have the status, which will be enum. So we will do an enum here called to do status, case completed, case in progress, and the type here should be to do status. You see how that's cool? I don't need to define a string. That's wonderful. Now we want to use something more cool. In case it was completed, then I want a value to be string and equal to completed. Same for in progress. I want to be in progress. I want to take the leverage of the enum. Case that can be only appear inside switch statement. Sorry, it should be a var. Wait, it should be case. This is more weird. One moment. If we try to remove the type to make sure it should be case. Yeah, it should be case. This is more weird. Okay, we'll try that maybe in another example, but I'm very sure that we can define a raw value for it. Yeah. We should define the value here, the type of the enum here to be a string, and now we can write it as completed. Sorry about that. Completed, and here equal to in progress. Now everything should be fine in progress. Let's see, in progress and completed. Yeah, that's wonderful. So we have the case here, we have the model. Wonderful. That's back to our view controller. We need to have an array, an empty array called data, and it will be an array of our class, which will be the to do task, equal to empty array. That's cool. So we have data now. We will change the count or the number of row in the section for the table used to be the data.count. So now if we try to open our application, we should see nothing. There is no any data here. That's cool. Now we want to do the following. When the user try to write something here and they click plus, we should add the to do here directly. How to do that? It's simple. We go to the main storyboard, then the text field that you already link it with the controller here. Simply we want to first make sure that there is a text there. So you can check it by doing the following: car let text is equal to text field to text, else return stop, because that text is something required. We cannot continue the code. We can print you must provide a text. Also we can do a check if text is empty, print you must provide a value. Now if we, and when we can do for sure return, if this is valid and this is valid, then that means that we are fine. We will do let task is equal to do task, and then we pass the following. The task should be the text that has been right here, and the status should be dot in progress. This is for the first time. Then all that we need to do to reload the table view, we need to do the following: data dot append, and then we add the task. And after that, we wanna ask the table view to refresh the rows because there is a new update happening to the data. And this is simply by calling the table view that reload data. Now let's run the application and see how it goes. So first case, if we didn't write anything and just try to click plus button, we should see you must provide a text, a value. See, because this is a null value. Okay, I need to clear the kitchen. Boom, it's going to be a new label here. Now if we try to add something else, like I want to do something else, boom, here we go. Now there is two things missing. The label isn't updated according to the text, and we should, once we add the task, we should clear the text field. So here you go back and say, once we reload the table view, we want the text field dot text is equal to empty, and you also can say simply self dot view dot end editing equal to true. What does it mean? Let's have a run and to explain this for you guys. So in real device, when you click a text field, there is a keyboard showing up, and this keyboard won't hide until you tell it to be hide. And this piece of code, which is self.view.end editing, which means, yeah, I'm already finished editing, now please hide the keyboard. Now let's try. This is my new task, and this is an example of the keyboard. When I click plus or add, as you can see, it has been now empty and the keyboard is hide. Now that is cool. The only thing is missing here, two things. The first thing, we want, whenever we click this trash button, we want to remove all the tasks. This is the very simple one. Simply, you can do the following: data dot, or you can see just data equal to empty array, and then table view dot fill. That's it. This is very simple. Now let's add 1, 2, 3, and then you click trash. Boom, they are gone. Now finally, we have the final thing. We want to provide the real task that we're writing here to be showing instead of label, and the same for the status. Simply, we can do the following. First, we already have the data here. We go back to the cell and create a new function called func update data, and we will provide the to-do with having the to-do task class that we already created, and we will do the following. Now first of all, the status, or let's just say, let's back here, the label, we didn't do an outlet for the label. This is the task, sorry. Let's have it here, task. We name it task for the variable, and we make the color white. Now this is wonderful. We go task dot text is equal to do dot task. That's wonderful. Now we have a scenario here our case. If it was in progress, it should be having this color, else it should be green. So we can do the following: if to do dot status is equal dot in progress, or simply you can use the switch case because we already take that. You can do switch to do dot status, then provide this brackets, and then we can do the following here. Yes, exactly. We have two cases, the completed and progress. In case it was a completed, we want to change the background color of the in progress to be for example red would be fine, or let's just say cyan. So we will do the following: we name it status view. If it was status view, the background color should be green, and we want the status label, the text is equal to do the status the true value. What does this mean? It means that when we define the model, we define the enum here, there should be a value, the string here. This is called raw value. That's wonderful, right? Let's back. You can do it by yourself here outside. So because the only thing that has been changed here is the background. So in case in progress, we can say that it's yellow, it's more cool. Yeah. Now we need to call this function and pass the model for every cell. We go back to the main storyboard, and here we said cell dot update data. We provide it as the old way, data, then index path dot row. That's cool. That's all what we need. Then we will run the project right now and to try add some task. So I need to clean the house and go to walk with my dog. So we have a problem here. You can see that the text field is overlapping with the button. We need to fix this constraint right now. But for now, let's try to add it. It's back here. Let's have a width and height for the button so it cannot be moved anywhere. And here it should be now fine. Let's give it a try. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's wonderful. So I wanna to clean the house and walk with my dog outside. Plus, oh, that's cool. So okay, the yellow color isn't that big thing. There is no fully string for the task, so we can solve that easily. We go back to the to do table view cell. We go to task, and then the line should be here 0, which is dynamic. Now I think the yellow color wasn't that good idea, so I think we can use the cyan, which almost close to be in cyan color. And here we go again. I wanna clean the house and walk my dog outside there. Plus, wow, that's wonderful. And we have this color and it's in progress. That's cool. I need to wash my hand. Plus, yes, that's cool. This is new task. That's great. Now, final things, we want to do a cool and amazing thing. When we click over any cell or any row, we want to change the status to be completed, and we can say that yeah, we already have a simple to do task, a simple to do app. It's a very easy of coding here. Let's back to the main storyboard. Then there is a protocol called did select at row. That means that did you click over this cell? In case you click this function of code will be executed. That's wonderful. So it's something easy. What we are going to do here is something easy. Simply, when we click over this cell, which is contained like a 0 or 1 or 2 index, we can say data. Then we provide the index path that we already click. Then we can say the status is equal to completed. You see how that's simple? Then we said table view dot reload. Now, to prevent the duplication, like because if you click another time it should be completed again, you can say here if data index path dot row dot status is equal to in progress. Only if it was in progress you need to convert it to completed, nothing else. So in case there is a lot of cases about that you do, for example, the only case that will convert from in progress to completed is the in progress part. So let's have it try it right now and see how it looks. Now this is new task, and here we go. I finish this task, I click here, and it's boom, completed. That's cool. That's amazing, right? That's very amazing. This is a new one. Click here, and boom, it's completed. So this is all what you need to understand about making the apps using Swift. You see how it's most easily to create an apps with a good idea. Like this is mostly to-do app. It's nothing that big deal. It's just a list of table view, and we have some text field here to add a little things. Like this app can save your time, for example. Because this is almost the basic app that we can provide at the moment. We hope that you understand what you can do in Swift. This is because this is your start. And from here, you need to go to the world and show them what you can do with Swift language. Thank you for watching all the videos, and stay with us for the last chapter with creating to-do app. Thank you and goodbye. See you in the next advanced chapter, maybe in the future. Bye bye.